Hey guys, I want to make a quick video talking about my custom chopper mini bike. I kind of regret not filming the whole process of making this bike, but I figured I could talk through it, let you know kind of what I did to make this mini bike. The first thing, the big thing that makes it really custom, obviously, is the frame. So my dad and I made this frame from scratch. So when we started, we were making this up in Wisconsin where my dad lives, and so we didn't really have a whole lot of time. And we were waiting on the parts because I ordered them kind of late. So we didn't have key parts like the rear wheel or the fork or a couple other things, but we kind of had to get going on the frame. Otherwise we were going to run out of time and not have enough time to finish it while I was up there. So we just went ahead and started on the frame. We started with these two pieces down here. We bent the fronts and then figured out the length we needed based on the motor and then cut those to length. And then we made the chain stays. These are actually, we didn't really have a way of bending these pieces of pipe, so it's actually two pieces welded together from some pieces my dad already had that were already bent to a 90, so we just used those and got that done. And then the chains, or the seat stays, we actually made from some brand new pipe, and we just put the bends in there, got the angle right. And originally, these pieces where it holds the axle, the pipes actually went back to a point, but I didn't really like the look of that. Thought it looked kind of dumb that way, just because it was so long. So I just cut those, made it a little bit shorter. And then the next thing we did, which is the part I think stands out the most, is this twisted down tube. So this is a piece of 1.25 inch square stock, solid metal. So it's actually pretty heavy. And what we did was we heated it up with the torch and we just started bending it. So we bent it 180 degrees one way and then 180 degrees the other way and then 180 degrees back the other way. And I actually got this idea from an episode of Great Biker Build Off back in the day. Indy and Larry did a down tube just like this. So that was something I wanted to incorporate into there. And then I did the top tube. I did that and I welded it in. Actually, the down tube we had angled forward more and the top tube was longer, and I could tell right away I wasn't gonna like that. So we ended up cutting it out down here, bringing it back, which I think was the right move. And then we put a little bit of a bend in the top tube to clear the motor, and it fit really well. I didn't really mention it, but all the notches on here I did in the drill press except for this one. So I actually used a Makita drill and drilled straight down just by hand all the way through this tube and through this piece of square stock to get the notch right for the head tube here, which was just one piece of pipe that we cut to that length. Then of course I got the chain tensioner down here. It's not adjustable, so we did this after we put everything together. It's just a bracket that holds a bolt that threads in with some spacers and a little sprocket on there. It's been working pretty nice actually. And then the last thing on the frame was the foot peg holders. These foot pegs were kind of designed to be like the fold out style, but I didn't really want to deal with that, so we just welded pipe on here and then pinched the ends a little bit so they would fit in there. And I think it worked out just fine. We bolted those in there. And then also this piece, the kind of seat tube piece, this we added last, just to obviously add more strength into it. Kind of tried to match the angle of this fender. And this fender is actually a boat trailer fender. I just bought that from the hardware store and I just cut it real short. If I would have let it go longer, I think it would have been a little too big, but since it was so wide, I didn't really want to channel it. So we actually just welded it on there and got it powder coated with the frame. The color, I kind of just liked the idea of blue, but I might take it apart one day and make it like a dark silver or something like that. I was looking at the frame before it was painted, and it was like the metal, dark metal color, and it looked a lot cooler than it does now, so I might do that eventually. I didn't really do my research, so this motor is a Power Horse 212, which is a Honda clone, and it's Northern Tools in-house brand. It was more expensive than a Predator. I wish I would have done my research and just went with a Predator, but it's been a good motor. I haven't done anything to the motor itself, but I did add the torque converter. This is just a torque converter off of Amazon. I had to cut the bottom of the aluminum to make it clear the frame, and then I did not like the look of the whole cover. So I actually cut it kind of where the lines were in the cover. And I think it covers it enough to keep it safe. It looks a little cooler. You get to see a little bit of the pulleys in that. I like that look a lot better. And then the exhaust is just the standard cheap thread-on exhaust. I just welded a pipe fitting to the flange, and then we threaded the muffler on there. I know some people say it's got to be longer or whatever, but I haven't really seen any big difference on power or anything, and I think it looks cool this way. Put some header wrap on it. I like it like that. The rear wheel I got from Go Power Sports, and like I said, I didn't have this when I got before we started making the frame. So if you look, it's actually super tight the way everything fits in there. The sprocket was originally on the outside of this flange here, and what I did was I cut some holes in it so that I could put it around the flange and then put it on the inside and actually bolt it up. And you can see the chain is pretty close to the tire, but there was just enough room for that. And then the same thing on this side for the brake. This brake caliper is an eBay brake caliper. It's one that was designed to work with the sprocket, which I thought was a dumb idea. And I actually had this brake rotor from a moped, and we ended up making a bracket and welding some studs onto the rim so that we could bolt this on there. Again, it's super close, but it works. And the only big flaw is that I have to take the whole wheel off and this brake rotor off to actually get at the air nozzle to fill up the tire, which I actually have to do soon, but it is what it is. Then I got the Springer seat. This was another Amazon purchase, like 35 bucks. The foot pegs, bought them on Amazon for like 12 bucks. I think they look pretty cool on there. The fork was the most expensive piece of this whole bike. I knew from the beginning that I wanted to use downhill mountain bike forks just for the look of it, and I just went and found the cheapest one I could find. They were like 260 bucks. I think they look cool. I might take the stickers off, who knows. Stem, cheap stem on Amazon, 10 bucks. FSA headset. The bars were some bars I won at a mountain bike event, so those are Eastern mountain bike handlebars. The grips, again, eBay, they were cheap. The thumb throttle, I wanted a thumb throttle on here. I just like thumb throttles better, but this one sticks out a little too far, so I gotta see if I can either adjust that or get a different thumb throttle or put a twist throttle on there, because when you put your hand on there, your thumb's a little bit too far away. But I just threw a Tektro brake lever on here. It was the only left-hand brake lever I had. And then the last thing is the front wheel. So the front wheel, it needed to have the 20 millimeter through axle option, so that would have to be a mountain bike hub or a BMX hub. The BMX hubs are more expensive, so I went and found the cheapest hub I could find for a mountain bike. It was like, I don't even remember how much it was, but I laced that up to a 16-inch Alienation BMX rim. It was the first wheel I laced in over 10 years, so I was kind of happy I got it laced up and tightened all the spokes, and I didn't even need to true it, so I kind of lucked out on that. All in all, this has been a really fun bike to ride. It's got a lot of suspension travel in the front, obviously, but it doesn't really make up for the lack of suspension in the rear. So you kind of got to watch going over bumps because it'll buck you for sure. But other than that, it's been fun. I've gotten it up to about 45 miles an hour. Like I said, I haven't done anything to the motor. I think that I haven't really totaled out the whole budget on it, but it came out to be about 900 bucks, I think, was about the total on it. Again, the fork being expensive, the motor, the torque converter, those are kind of the big items that were expensive, but I'm really happy with the way it turned out. My dad and I had been talking about building this for 15, 20 years, so we finally did it, so I'm really pumped on that. It's just been a cool project. We are working on a bike for him right now. It's kind of like a cafe racer style with a lot of Honda 50 parts on it. So I did actually film the process of building that one, so I'm going to be putting together a video of that. So click the subscribe button and watch for that. Thanks.